The expectation of instant love, love me, love my child, we'll be one big happy family. We both had failures. We both had terrible things. Now we're going to be one big happy family.
Can we buy those from you? Do we have them here?
Yes. And I really recommend that. That's the kind of how-to, the whole structure and that stuff. It'll be like the old family, but even better. My mother waited until I got married to get married. Still don't want. All these things that people do. My mother moved from her house into my stepfather's house. His wife had died. The house had kind of wallpaper and stuff all over the place. My mother took the whole house, painted the walls white. We covered everything like in white and beige and stuff like that. My stepsisters came in, and essentially what she did was she whited out the whole existence. But there was another woman in his life, and they were pretty upset for good reason. But she did it innocently. She just wanted to like women do, make their marks, take their territory. So, number 3, third C, the chaos due to endemic behaviors and the unexpected responses. These responses are totally unexpected. There's no infrastructure. So with that, it becomes dysfunctional because there's no way of handling this. There's no way of saying, oh, that's normal, always when we do that. Total hierarchical shifts. The male head of the household is a stepfather. So we don't have to listen to him because he's not our biological father. So then we have to immediately move into structuring. Middle child, youngest child becomes middle child. I get everything else because I'm the littlest one. Now you become a middle child. Boundaries again. No delineation. You have to move quickly with your clients. Even if they've been married for a while, you have to move quickly to establish an order. That's why we leave out all the deep psychological stuff. No rules, roles, responsibility, respect, or discipline. They're always very absent or conflicted because they have come from totally different systems. And you have to reconcile those systems. It's like merging two companies, like merging a company in California, a company in New York. The guys in California wear open shirts with gold chains. The guys in New York wear, suits with vests and pinstripes. We have to figure out what's going to be dress code. Corporations do it. I guess they do it.
Sometimes we call our organization organizational development for the step family because it follows exactly the same model that a corporation uses, and that's what we kind of integrate here.
Down to the ashtrays, every bit of it here.
Yep.
Okay, the 4th C is the conflict of loyalties. Huge issue here. I mean, to even think that you could do this in 2 inches here, we'll be doing more about it. It's felt by every member of the system. It's not just the father-child. It's not just me, the parent, vis-a-vis my child and my husband. It's felt between the children. It's felt all the way around. That story I told you about Donnie, that's the conflict of loyalties. If I begin to like my stepmom, then that means I don't like my mom. We have systems for explaining that. Again, parent versus child, it's all about social partner versus partner. Partner versus new spouse, prior spouse. Grandparents even are involved in the conflict of loyalties. So there are loyalty conflicts every which way. Every way you look is a loyalty conflict. Now we get into the D's, diminished parenting. Now all the studies, Wallerstein started this, but now all the studies have proven that what does a divorced parent do? They're much more interested in their own life, mourning their own loss, sometimes mourning, sometimes grieving through acting out, through dating, through getting very busy, through working very hard. So there's diminished parenting. And the children suffer. My father went away, and my mother got depressed. And so therefore I was abandoned by both parents. In those days, the days of the old days of the 50s, I could just run around town, the village that I lived in, and say, would you be my mommy? Would you be my mommy? Would you be my Boy Scout, my Girl Scout leader? And I just kept finding replacement parents and uncles and aunts, and I had lots of people. Now the child, there's nobody home when you knock on the door. You can't ask your girlfriend's mommy to be your mommy, but to help you out with stuff because she's working. So now the kids have their peers, they have the television, they have video games, but they don't have parenting people. They have no one parenting, so kids don't learn social values, they don't know how to do just the basics of life. They don't know how to sew on a button, they don't know how to wash a dish, they don't know how to keep their room clean. They don't have order. So therefore we're getting this whole set of young administrative assistants that can't do very much. Everybody who has one complaint. So the Wallerstein study details all of this, and on your stats there is how well children do with divorce. Their schoolwork goes down. Again, depression, the most underdiagnosed. You have an angry child, you have a depressed child. I am not a great belief in medicating. I'm a belief in telling the child, normalizing that with the child. I do a lot of work with giving even the child, as long as they're over 12 or 13, to giving them the Covey tapes, the 7 habits of effective people, and give them that stuff to do. So I do a lot of work around that depression with the child, and I think it's again like I'm saying, it's the depression in children is the most under-recognized that's going on in this culture. And the child sits there and stares at the commercial and can't even get up to do something, and can't keep their room clean, can't do any of the stuff that you know was a sine qua non growing up. For me, I had to keep my room clean, I had to do this, I had to do that. Is not being done. Again, the step-parent has no assigned role, so they either underdo or overdo. Because if they don't come under the rubric of the biological parent, don't build that couple strength. And the step-parent can say, well, Johnny, that towel on the floor in this household began, and I decided towels get folded in 3 on that rack. I guess that towel has to get picked up. If the step-parent says, Johnny, pick up that towel, immediately that's a good rule, step-parent, you're not my mother, I don't have to do what you don't have to do what you say.
And you're using a wide definition of step-parent, even if it's a partner.
Yes.
A relationship.
Anybody. It can be a lesbian partner, a gay partner, it can be anything. That person is in locus parentis. As long as you're living in the household. But even in a dating situation, people try to do it too. Heavy-duty dating, yes, serious dating.
I was going to add, for me anyway, under diminished parenting, you've got guilt and shame. I'd also add fear and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because if you discipline the kids when you see them and they don't have a good time, you're afraid they won't want to see you again.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's part of the guilt and shame. The diminished parenting, oh, that's very good. I speak better than that. This is the absent biological parent who visits, whose children visit.
Mm-hmm.
So he is loaded with guilt. He overindulges. He says, it's usually he, and she too, whether it's a she, like the mother, says I have only 2 weekends a month to see the child. So therefore I'm not going to do any discipline. And the shame inhibits any sort of action. I feel so ashamed that I divorced. I feel so sad, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let the kid jump all over the couch. I'm going to let the kid tear up the place. I'm going to go, oh, you shouldn't have done that.
And
I'm not really
divorce
doing
is bad all these years.
Hmm?
Because I've been teaching my kids divorce is bad all these years, and I've done it.
Yes, right. And it really, for the child, it is because they are not being, their boundaries are not being set. They're allowed to do things they know they shouldn't be doing. They know they shouldn't be jumping on the couch. They're acting out and they're being allowed to do those kind of things because the parent feels so much guilt or shame. And so the parent ceases to parent them. Now, in the 50s, when my parents divorced when I was 10 and a half, my father and mother, kept this stuff up. My father was Attila the Hun. When I visited him, it was absolutely, I was a hippie, and I didn't want to get dressed up or anything. When he had formal dinners, and I had to wear a skirt, and I had to wear, my hair had to be combed, and I had to do all this stuff at the table, and I had to speak his dialect of German, and I had to do all these things in my father's house. And there was a safety in that. As much as I might buck it as this liberal 60s person, there was a safety. My father always said, you can always live in this house, no matter what happens, you'll always have a home here, as long as you abide exactly to the rules here. This is what you'll do in this house, these are the rules. This is your curfew, this is this. And there was a great safety for me, as much as I considered him a fascist, not to his face, it was a safety in knowing that he cared that much about me. I felt cared about with those rules. And see, I don't think kids feel cared about when we don't give them these kind of strict rules, or just definite rules. So that whole aspect, why it's happening in this culture, we could talk for hours on. It's happening because of the work-life conflicts. It's happening because divorce is so prevalent. It's happening because it's a norm. It's happening because it's politically correct. It's happening because we're doing so much talking to children as opposed to using the one-word sentence called no. So that's Disneyland parent. Again, Disneyland parent can be the biological parent, but it can be the African parent too, the do me, buy me, fly me. The fear of popularity, these parents are these kids, interesting stuff. These parents are in a popularity contest. If I don't be wonderful to this child and don't get theater tickets and don't take them to the Yankee playoffs, and they will come and visit me again because they don't have to. So they're constantly vying for the child's love.
And the Wallerstein study, that was the one that talked about depression.
The depression is also the fact that the parents are still in conflict. That's one of them. The parents still are fighting. There's a depression when there's no boundary. All of this stuff causes depression in the child.
But is that what the study was about?
See, the Disneyland daddy, the Disneyland mommy, the person that does all the buying and doing things. And, I mean, I have a woman who's a major executive, a doctor who's a major executive in a drug company. She flies all over the world. She's always bringing her boys gifts and things like that. But these boys are so feminized, and she sympathizes with them when I'm not playing baseball anymore because the we're looking at as a culture, so we're not looking at as a culture.
We keep jumping ahead to see what does work, as opposed to following the negative and what doesn't work. To see what does work, because that would be the intention of the communication.
Yes, right, exactly. What does well, how you work this, because this is pretty much an endemic to the situation.
Yes.
These things are there, so it's not what doesn't work; it's what's there. It's the negatives you have to overcome. You have to hurdle over to get to the end game.